I met this guy online. I thought we'd hit it off amazingly well. We started talking, and suddenly 3 months passed by, and we are still on Skype every night and texting like crazy. We never put a label on it, as we both agreed we have to pursue a physical relationship before taking it to the boyfriend girlfriend level. Since he lives in another state, I offered to meet halfway. We aren't that far. He agreed and told me he would let me know what his schedule looked like, and we would plan it out and make it a fun, extended weekend or something. So, as this plan was in the works, he called me one night to talk to me about a trip he made to his doctor that day. He told me that he didn't want to freak me out, but he had struggled with leukemia for years. He told me that they stopped treatment in his mid 20s and told him his condition was improving. However, very recently, they found a growth in his lungs and began him on treatment again. I was a little surprised because not once had he mentioned this at all, and I considered this to be a huge thing to not mention to someone you've been planning to date for 3 months. So I began poking for details, and his story kind of started to add up. He did go to the doctor often. He always looked rather skinny and sickly and was really pale. He showed me pictures of him in the hospital in his early 20s, hooked up on all kinds of machines, and told me that it was hard to talk about because every girl so far has left after finding out about his disease, and he didn't want me to leave as well. I explained that hiding that kind of information wasn't okay, just because he didn't trust I would stick around after finding out about this, and he agreed and apologized. So, after that, we kind of halted our planning and talked about how he was doing from day to day. Well, one day, I woke up at 5:55 a.m. to a phone call, and he is on the other end crying and freaking out. He told me that he had to have a surgery to try and remove the growth, and he would be out of commission for weeks afterwards. He knew it was a stretch, but asked if I could stay for the first 5 days after his surgery to help out until he could either hire someone or ask a family member to stay with him for the remainder of his recovery time. Of course, I said yes. I took a week of vacation and packed my bags and booked a flight the day of his surgery so that I would make it just before he went under. I rented a car and got everything figured out on my own. He offered to reimburse me for the price of the plane ticket, but I told him it was all right. The day I departed, I gave a spare key to my neighbor so that they could check on my cat once a day, and made the trip over and picked up my car and went to get him. I drove to the hospital he was staying at. I made it to the street the hospital was on when he gave me a call and told me that it ended sooner than he thought, and he went ahead and asked a friend to pick him up and drop him off at home. He gave me his home address and asked that I meet him there. I was kind of annoyed because I'm so sure that after a huge surgery like that, you would at least stay in the hospital. But he said he was at home, so I went to his house. I picked up some flowers and coffee and rang the doorbell. He answered in sweats and a t-shirt and this bulky, what looked like a band-aid under his shirt. I asked him how he was doing and gave him a hug, and we pretty much hung out from there. He just stayed in bed, and I would make him food and bring it to him and watch movies with him. I ordered us takeout at his request, and he ate like half of it and said he didn't have an appetite. After we ate, we both fell asleep, and the next day was pretty much a repeat of the day before. Only when night came, he suddenly had this burst of energy, and before I knew it, we were having intimate relations. It lasted all night. He did not once run out of stamina. He was totally into it. He was starving afterwards, the whole deal. We continued in the morning again, a lot of intimate relations all through the afternoon. Finally, I told him to chill out and kind of pushed him away when he was trying to go like a tense session with me. I touched the bandage and noticed some red came off on my fingers. He made no mention of it, so I know he didn't notice. That's when alarm bells started ringing in my head. I went into the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water and began looking through his mail. I know it might not make sense, but I had this strong feeling that he was lying about his surgery. I just wanted to check to see if his name really was what he told me. It was. I was beginning to freak out and felt like he tricked me to get me out there and that I might have been bunking with a predator. Almost as if he was sensing my urgency, he approached me looking all panicked and told me that his family was on his way over to make sure he was recovering well. He had already repacked my bags and gave me directions to a hotel by the airport. He apologized for kicking me out and offered to pay for the hotel. I declined and said I would pay for it, but asked why I had to go. In my mind, he wanted me to be his girlfriend. I was there from out of state to care for him. Was it really that weird to be there when his family arrived? His excuse was that they would be hurt that he didn't call them first to care for him, and he would rather not deal with his hurt family on top of his soreness from the surgery. He said he would visit me in the hotel that night and to just let him know my room number. Well, I didn't go to that hotel. I found a cheaper one and asked the front desk that if anyone calls looking for me, to not put them through. They were more than happy to oblige with that. I got up to my room with my laptop and plugged it in and began to hardcore search this guy. When we met, he told me that Skype was the only way he communicated with friends and family, and that he didn't have a Facebook for work reasons. I kind of doubted that at first and looked for him a long time ago but never found anything. I did find a LinkedIn a long time ago, but that tells you only so much. Well, this time I created a throwaway Facebook and looked for him again. He popped up almost instantly. I also looked at the URL and typed that into Google to find his Instagram. This is what I took away from that information. None of his family remotely lives close to him. He is outdoorsy and often goes on group outings with friends. He thrives on bar life and often goes out looking for girls with his friends. He told me he worked for a specific company. He actually doesn't. The hospital picture he showed me was from a motorcycle accident. He has 3 kids that he's only seen a few times, and none of the moms live remotely close to him as well. You can imagine how sick I felt. I looked through his listed family and I contacted the person listed as his sister. Surprisingly, she got back to me quick. She debunked the leukemia lie and told me that he never was terminally ill, and if he was, they certainly had no idea that he was. She suggested I find an early flight and go back home. Then the conversation ended and I just sat there with my tummy in knots. I didn't have unprotected sexual relations with him, but these were huge lies. I ordered food and ate to clear my mind. Then I got in my car and drove by his house. His car was gone, but there was another car in the driveway with a Hello Kitty sticker on the back of it. That made me feel worse. I drove back to the hotel and now I am sitting here in an armchair, struggling with whatever I'm feeling emotionally. So that's why I'm here. I don't even know what I'm feeling. I know now it's time to get a flight back, but should I assume he was just stringing me along for some weird reason. It looked like he had a girlfriend on his Facebook from what I saw, though it wasn't listed on the sidebar. Should I inform her as well? I don't even know how to begin coping with this or deciding what I should do about it. Please, I need some advice. So that is our story for today. This lady seems to have gotten into a very complicated situation. If you were in this situation, what would you have done? What is your advice? Please let us know in the comments. I'm sure this will make a very interesting conversation in the comments. Please share your thoughts and your advice as to this situation. And I will see you in my next video.